Hello, Mountain Connect. My name is Brian Worthen. I'm the CEO of Mammoth Networks and Visionary Broadband. And I am talking today about how to drive your tech business. And this is a little different topic than we've normally talked about in the past. When Mammoth folks have been up, we've talked about uh, uh, public-private partnerships and building a network. But what's interesting about the evolution of technology is we have to think about other parts of the business. And I've had to think about these parts of the business. And so when Jeff asked me to speak, it was a natural fit for me to start thinking and assembling my notes on this. First off, I want to applaud the efforts of the Northwest Colorado Broadband Group, which is comprised of the school district, the city of Steamboat Springs, Routt County, UC Health, Yampa Valley Electric. These folks got us into the public-private partnership space. We worked with them closely to get a trunk line built through Steamboat and coalesce into a single fiber network funded by multiple entities. And it was a great way for us to enter that public-private partnership market. Prior to that, we were a private entity, and we always did things on our own. And so it was a great testament to my folks, including Evan Biaggi, about how to work with communities, how to work with multiple parties, and that's a success today, and it feeds quite a bit of business there, including wholesaling to other providers in the area. So it was a great opportunity for us to enter that market, and that ultimately leveraged into Thor. And my staff worked with 10 entities over the course of a couple of years, and put together a network plan that would serve 12 communities. And there are a couple of entities I want to give kudos to. One of those is Middle Park Health, who are operating dual Meet Me centers in Kremling and Granby, and also Summit County, who operate two Meet Me centers on that network. So the NCB was our first foray, and Thor it gave us a confidence to work with these communities and establish Thor. And it was really rewarding this year to have turned up Thor to provide redundancy and network redundancy, and use the CDOT fiber along the interstate back to Denver to truly ring that area. In fact, we did a cut in June to move over the majority of the traffic on Thor, and a couple of days later, one of the main trunk lines was hit, and all those medical clinics and hospitals and 911 and PSAPs and everybody using the network was still operational. And in a COVID environment, it was a great thing that day. It was a great event for us. We could pat ourselves on the back and say we did a good job. It was a lot of hours, a lot of late nights, a lot of network planning, programming of equipment and whatnot. So a little bit of history about myself and our company. I first encountered the founders of Visionary Broadband, or at the time it was called Visionary Communications, and we spent some time playing Warcraft 2 over dial-up, and I started hanging around their office and understanding their business a little more. In fact, there was a time where the business operated pretty simply, and the going rate for internet at the time was $20 a month for dial-up. And so I'd go to their office, and they'd open a drawer full of cash, and there's a bunch of 20s in there, and they'd count out enough bills to go and get a $1,000 cashier's check to pay some bills. And I was chiding them on, hey, why don't you have a checking account or maybe some financials? And so I got in the business in 2001, but we were founded in 1994. So this December, it'll be 26 years in business. The bottom line is we grew out of a dial-up company. We started our business with a 56K frame line to cable and wireless, and a number of phone lines. And the hospital and school district were our first customers. And we were on the cutting edge of technology. And the goal was at the time to get free internet for ourselves. And that business plan obviously evolved. we started developing in 2001 and 2002 some broadband using wireless and DSL technology. There were a number of markets where we beat the phone company. At the time it was Quest and US West. We beat them to the market in certain towns in Wyoming with DSL. And we were the first to offer broadband in over a dozen communities using wireless in Wyoming. And as we developed that platform, we realized we need more buying power. And this was a natural evolution for us. We actually outgrew some of our dial-up lines, and we needed to monetize those. So at the time, dial-up lines were fed by T1s, PRIs is what they're called, and we had a contract for 100 of those. And at the time, probably April of 2003, 2004. I'm sorry. We were using about 45 of those lines, but we're still paying $1,000 a month per line. So it was quite a big expense for us, and we were so successful with selling broadband to our heavy dial-up customers. We actually were selling ourselves broke from an expense standpoint. So we came up with the concept of creating a network for resale across other states. Based in Wyoming, we obviously have a limited customer base, and so we looked at Boise and Salt Lake and Billings, Montana, and Denver and northern Colorado. And so we established a network in all those places and took some of that spend that was on dial-up and that spend commit with CenturyLink and Quest and turned that into a wholesale platform. But what was interesting about that is, and this is speaking to the topic at hand, we originally thought we were going to go into the market as retail. And I referred to resale, and that's, we were going to buy a DSL and actually retail it first. And the unemployment rate in our hometown with regards to tech guys, customer service folks, was so tight. We at the last minute decided not to retail to direct to end user, and we decided to resell to other ISPs. And it was interesting because at the time, there was no way for a CLEC or any other wholesale entity to build a network for DSL aggregation. And so when we started building this network out and wholesaling to ISPs, naturally regional ISPs and hometown ISPs started using the network because we converted it from a fixed cost to a variable cost. Prior to that, the customer using the DSL platform with Quest at the time had to pay $1,700 a month to offer DSL, and that's whether that's one customer or 1,000 customers. And we took our network and set it up in such a way that hometown ISP, if they had 30 customers, they'd only have to pay us for the 30, and if they had 300 customers, they would pay us for 300. And so we hit on something that was interesting. And what it then evolved to was larger and larger nationwide companies started using our network. And we really had to up our game. We were hometown guys with a lot of technicians that came to us as their first job. And here, all of a sudden, we were servicing larger accounts. So we come in at the time. This is between 2005 and 2009. And we'd come in, and the night before, 30 post offices were put on our network, or 40 Wendy's restaurants, and it was an exciting time. But we had to change. We created a platform that was snowballing, and our customers were coming to us saying, "We love the DSL product. We can take a DSL in Minneapolis and a DSL in Spokane, Washington, and a DSL in Tucson, and make those all talk to each other via your network. So that's great. We'd love to see you do that for T1s." So we started mixing in T1s to the network. And then our customers came to us and said, "Hey, we'd love for you to offer Ethernet." And the point I'm making with this story and this history that I'm establishing is we listened to the customers. We didn't just say we're a DSL company. We didn't just say we're a T1 company. Every time they came to us and said, "We want something more," we figured out a way to give them more. So we start offering DSL, we start mixing in T1s, we start mixing in Ethernet, and then our customers started coming to us for big pipes. So when we sold our 100th 10 gig circuit, we realized that we're in the big pipe game. And today, that's still a very successful part of our business, where we're selling 1 gig, 10 gig, and we have a number of 100 gig circuits within our network. And over that period from 2005 to 2009 and then into 2017, we were growing this wholesale platform that we called Mammoth Networks. But always we were operating Visionary Broadband in the background and building our retail platform. So we expanded services into Red Lodge, Montana, and we expanded services into Spokane, Washington, and Eastern Washington, Northern Idaho, other locations in Montana. But the fact of the matter is, when we were successful with wholesale, we didn't spend as much time on the retail part of our business, which is Visionary. And when we're slow with the other part of the business, we would spend more efforts on the business that was demanding more attention. So it was a nice way of building a network and building buying power with the phone companies. The interesting part about our business then became we realized that we needed to focus. So we went from listening to our customers, and which we still hopefully do today, to integrating more services and building a network. But what we got stuck in was we actually built so much network, we didn't figure out how to monetize it. We would go into a market and say we have an anchor tenant. So we'd go into Eastern Oregon or somewhere in Iowa, and we'd say we have an anchor tenant, and we'll do well with this. And the second customer will, the anchor tenant pays for most of the bill. The second customer pays for the bill plus some labor, and the third customer will be successful. And we never actually got to the third customer in some of our areas. And so in 2017, we divested of some of our non-Rocky markets. When I say Rockies, I'm talking about the Rocky Mountains. So anything Pacific Northwest or east of Wyoming, Colorado, we divested of. And we took some of those funds, we took quite a bit of those funds and turned that into an investment in capital. So we willingly pivoted. And I have a lot of respect, and this obviously, it's not new to anyone, and it's not some magical idea that we came up with. But I actually came up with this idea from a buddy of mine who operated ISP in Denver back in the day, and sold off his wireless customers and sold off his DSL customers and focused on voice. And he grew that business into very, very quickly into servicing quite a few people on a voice platform and 911 platform. And I thought it was very gutsy and very aggressive to simply sell off your customer base to finance another part of your business. And we didn't take that approach. We actually used our dial-up customer base and our DSL customer base to be our cornerstone business. I saw this actually in my father's business. He had a van business, and our family transported Burlington Northern and Union Pacific crews to and from the train depots. So when a crew was running out of hours on the train, we'd go pick them up and drop off a fresh crew. And he took that as a cornerstone business and started investing in buses. And so in the end, the family business I grew up in was a busing business, but it all started out of a simple van business or smaller vehicle transportation. So Visionary and Mammoth took the same approach. We did not discontinue or end some product lines. What we did was we used those as a cornerstone to build on our core network and where we wanted to be in the future. The divesting of some of our non-profitable areas was key. We saw an end to wholesale DSL, and we saw the inability to monetize some areas. And so in 2017, we took some of those funds and invested in back of our network. What the evolution then became, we kept all of our folks. There was only 3 people that didn't come along with us. And I went to my staff and I said, I'd like you to focus your efforts on more worthwhile efforts. At the time, in 2017, we were selling DSL at a wholesale level for about $6 a subscriber and transporting that back to our customers' routers. And I took my same staff and said, now work on bigger and better things. And we went from 4 vehicles in 2017 to over 40 today. So we've transitioned our business quite a bit. And if you think about our business and the timeline I've just established, it evolved over the period from 2001 to 2020. We pivoted 5, 6, 7 times. And depending if you look at it from an employee standpoint or skill set standpoint or a product standpoint. But the point is we pivoted, and that's important in a tech business. I don't think there's a tech business that can remain focused on one product. And if you look at Google creates multiple products and then they discontinue some. That's an example of pivoting. Obviously they have a core business and they're really good at certain things, but they're always testing. And I think that's an important aspect of this. In Southwest Colorado, we use a scan network operated by the Southwest Cogs. I've got to give props to them. That's just a side note. But let's go back to the pivoting. The Cornerstone business allows us to pivot. We have some cash flow. We have some business that keeps us operating and paying for the majority of salaries, healthcare, vehicle expenses, office expenses, and whatnot. And then the efforts we spend to pivot are focused, and I'm speaking about us specifically. We've used that as an opportunity to focus our efforts on those initiatives and those projects we really want to be, or really want to achieve in the next couple of years. So the point I'm making here is, don't wait to be ready. The pivoting that I'm talking about, we didn't necessarily think we're going to be successful at wholesale. We wanted to actually just cover some expenses, and it was a $60,000 to $70,000 a month gamble when we created Mammoth and jumped into the business. We didn't have a single wholesale customer. We weren't entirely ready. We didn't have a billing system. We didn't have a ticketing system. We had to build all those things, and we built the customer base before we wanted to. We were ready. We built the customer base before we had the back office. In fact, some of the functions we have on our wholesale platform are still running spreadsheets, and I think many businesses have that situation. I think rarely a business will say they do have that situation. It's not anything to be ashamed of. It's fast, and it creates speed. And so our ability to pivot to wholesale we just jumped in, we did it. Our ability to start offering our own network and building our own network and building our own fiber, we started doing it, and then we got the tools to mature. So the point I'm making here is, and I'm talking about driving your tech business. We're not waiting to be ready. We're embracing the challenge. And I say we because I'd love to come along with everyone that's starting a tech business. It's fun, it's exciting, and it's always changing, and it's never boring. I can't think of a time in our business when I've had my car running outside at 4:59 p.m. I hit the parking lot when I'm done for the day, and it's never the same thing day after day. So there's going to be, and I talked about don't wait to be ready. I just talked about embracing the challenge. There's going to be people out there that say this can't be done. That's code word for that's exactly the moment you embrace the challenge. When people talk about the stock market, they say, when you're most uncomfortable, that's when you buy back in. This is what I'm saying to you is, when you're trying to drive your tech business forward, when there are people out there saying this cannot be done, this is impossible. We had this happen this year. We had a number of competitors in our markets report back to governor's offices and state legislators and say, you really can't build network before December 30th with CARES money. It's just impossible. It's going to be cold. It's going to be there's going to be a shortage of contractors, shortage of supplies. And when we heard that, we stepped up and said, no, this can be done. And we laid out a plan where it could be done. And we received some broadband funds through the state administered funds that came from the CARES Act. And we've got till December 30th to do it. And I love the challenge. And so when I talk about embracing the challenge, that's what makes this job exciting. I talked previously about spending time on the right things. When I found that my staff was how much time they're spending on $6 a month DSL, and we can spend that same amount of time on a building a fiber line somewhere, how exciting is that? How many of you have looked around your business and said, I need to discontinue spending time on this, or I need to take some of the emphasis we spend on this product line, which is very marginal and does not give us a return and is chewing up a lot of our time, and refocus my people. That's one of the things I want to point out. So the understanding of your business enough to look around and evaluate it and say, I feel like I could be spending my time on more worthwhile efforts. You need to be asking that once a month of yourself and of your people. Have a meeting with your people and say, what do we spend our time on? Because it's important to know your core competence. We went into a community of 100,000 people, and we've had success in communities that are smaller, and we were excited. We said, okay, we're ready to crack into a bigger market, and we did not do well at all. We had a low adoption rate. It was hard to get our name in between the cable company and the phone company. We couldn't out advertise them. And that was the moment. And it took us 2 or 3 months to really analyze this. And that was a moment where we realized our core competence is in the outskirts. It's in the towns of 30,000 people or less. It's in the towns and cities where we have a relationship with the city government, with the county government, with anchor tenants in the area. We were a little foot forward and caught unawares when we invested so much in this community and got such a little return. And it was a learning experience, and we chose to learn from that. We don't hide it. We don't throw it under a rug and sweep it under a rug and whatnot. We talk about it pretty regularly in our office, where we don't want this to be another another marketing disaster. And today we still operate infrastructure in the community, but it's not making money, and it's a good lesson. But we had to fail to learn that lesson. So let's talk about how to pick up speed. This is a big topic for me. We just did an analysis, and a couple of years ago we had 60 people. We just passed 140. We know a little bit about this. The best thing I can tell you is block out 1 to 2 hours a day. Don't take emails. Don't read emails. Don't take phone calls. Don't text. There's so many things distracting us: Slack, Teams, Skype, Google Voice. Everything's buzzing. You have to allocate a certain amount of time to just focus on a project. We've actually, during COVID, we've actually seen a number of our tech guys go home and be more productive. And some of them are going home split days, like half days, but they're able to focus on a project, a programming project, a big network rollout. They're doing a night cut. They just work from home the next day, that kind of thing. The modern day communications tools are too much. If you block out 1 to 2 hours a day, you'll be successful. The other thing I would say is spend time away from your business. Clear your head. I love driving. I love driving across Wyoming, Colorado. You get a lot of windshield time. You get a lot of time to think. You just turn on the radio because you have to think about it. And one of the most important things that I think about is how to build the team you want. You're in a tech business, especially in locales like Western Colorado. There's not a lot of tech companies. It's not like there's a Silicon Valley. It's not like there's an Ashburn, Virginia, where every company is co-located next to another, where they all draw employees in. This isn't even Northern Colorado. This is Western Colorado. And you have to think of your employees as a baseball team. When a player does well, they go up to the majors. When they don't do well, they're sent back down to the minors. And it's okay to think like that, because what you're looking for is major league players. You're always recruiting. I have been recruiting for years by simply writing down someone's name when I talk to them. I like that person. Their personality is good. So I've hired people 6 years after I first met them. I write down their name in my notes. I search for keywords that later that I assign to them, such as would be good at wholesale sales, or it could be a general manager, or just very technical, or understands VLANs, or has worked on the like a CNF platform or an Advent platform in the past. I'm always writing down people I've met with. I make sure to enter everybody in my address book. So when we're talking about employees, we're talking about how to grow. And the key to that is celebrate the wins. And that starts with stories. Employees love stories. They pass them on. And stories are a way for you to communicate what's important to you. And when the team accomplishes a goal, to celebrate that. So for instance, in June of this year, our company passed 750 years of telecom experience. There's this milestone, and I've been tracking it for years. And I've always bragged on that, because telecom's a new industry, especially broadband. You know, when I say telecom experience, I'm talking specifically about broadband. But we've got 750 years plus of experience at our company. That's cool. And having employees being able to tell a customer that, I can't tell you how many employees of ours get stopped at a gas station while they're fueling up, and customers start talking to them, or a city attorney, or a mayor, or somebody like that. Some of our best conversations with communities have started at a gas station or at a restaurant. People love stories. Employees love stories about more humble beginnings. For instance, my founder Jeremy Malley and I, one night we decided to order to move and order circuits to be moved from one building to another in Casper, Wyoming. And it started snowing when we started moving. We started moving around midnight, and we got done around 3. But during this whole time, we were powering down equipment, and this is a time when we didn't have the money to duplicate equipment, and so we didn't have the new location set up on fiber. We literally had to power down the equipment, put it on a hand truck, and cart it across a 4-lane street to the next building, and then work with the phone company and the company we use for backhaul to Seattle and Denver to move our circuits with us. So there were a number of people waiting on us to get this moved. We started moving it with hand trucks. Every time we cruised across the street, the 4 lanes, it snowed a little more, and pretty soon we were snowed in. So that night we had to go out and buy toiletries and go find a room. And Jeremy bought this shirt, this T-shirt that says "Punk Rock," and it had a couple fists on it, and it was a pretty cool story, because I actually ordered some new punk rock shirts this year that look just like it, and we've been talking about that more and more. And it's really about our humble beginnings. When you don't have enough money to actually buy duplicate equipment, and this equipment at the time was a Cisco 7206, which today is so antiquated. It's ridiculous, but at the time that was the big thing, and we didn't even have the money to buy a second one just to turn up at the new location. The other stories, I talked about this earlier. What a great experience to be able to say we're a part of Thor, and these communities that we're in partnership with, to say we've kept this network up during all these construction cuts, during all these outages, during these fires in Northwest Colorado that are going on right now. And all these health providers are operational and able to respond. What a rewarding story that is. And that's why you need to tell your stories. So the other thing that pops in my head as I was thinking about this, and as I've been talking, is there's a book by Dave Hitz called How to Castrate a Bull. It's about the founder of NetApp and his ability to grow with the business. When you are starting a tech business and you start to grow that business and you start to scale and hire additional employees and pass a 50 employees and 100 employee threshold and keep working towards that goal, you're going to find that not everybody goes along. And Dave talks about that in this book. And it's an interesting book to read for that fact, because the sooner you realize that some people are made to grow with the business, and others are serial entrepreneurs where they're going to go start another business and another business after that. And it's okay. You can't expect everybody to fit in one mold. And when you're in a tech business and you're driving that business forward, those major league players are always going to take you forward. There's going to be some other players that say, I choose to go somewhere else, or I choose to go from Major League Baseball to Major League football, right? There's some Bo Jacksons out there, and that's okay too. The final thought I would give you is quit playing defense. There are a number of companies that I ran into in the last few years that spend their time playing defense. They think always about the competitor. They always have the competitor on their mind, on the tip of their tongue. What are they doing? I'm going to go on their website. Up to the bigger companies who are lobbying, spending time with the state, with the legislature, talking about funding programs, and they spend their time slowing down progress. They spend their time spreading out the investment. And right now, with what's going on in broadband, with CAF2, with CARES, with Colorado Broadband Deployment Board, with upcoming RDOF next week, the fact of the matter is, this feels a lot like 1996 when the Telecom Act established an opening of the telecom network. We're now, through COVID and through this Zoom environment, we're now understanding, and I think the attendees of Mountain Connect are always going to understand this. We're now understanding the true utility of broadband, and Congress is going to fund more. There's going to be a second CARES Act. There's going to be RDOF money flowing in. There's going to be a shortage of fiber. There's going to be a shortage of people that can hang aerial, that can bore. This is why you don't have time to think about playing defense. As you're building a tech company and hopefully a broadband company, if you're attending this conference, you're thinking about how do I prepare myself staff-wise, equipment-wise, materials-wise, to be ready for a broadband rollout. And that means we're going on the offense. You can spend all the time in the world worrying about the competitor, or you can just go do it. And recognizing what your core competence is, looking around the office and seeing what people are spending time on, recognizing the need to pivot, and monetizing the core, the cornerstone of your business. In the end, what hopefully you can do in a tech environment is pivot to that point where it creates some scale, some comfort, and it starts to snowball. And I don't believe, and we've not treated that in our business in this way, I don't believe that you spend much time playing defense at all. It's all about the offense. So enjoy your tech business. Enjoy developing broadband. You're going to spend hours in front of people. You're going to spend 2 or 3 years with folks that finally your plans come to fruition. And hopefully those are your employees that you're spending that time with, your customers, your partners, vendors, people that you can jointly succeed with. And I would be happy to answer any emails or any LinkedIn requests that come my way to have a further discussion about this. So I appreciate the time to talk to you today, and I hope you have a great conference. Thank you.